Hi,
Hi, how you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
All right. Are you getting any cycling done this during COVID? I see your bike in the
Uh,
back.
yeah, definitely not as much as I'd like to. No, I'm in school as well, so that school and work take up a lot of my time.
Oh wow, what are you studying?
I'm in a grad program for urban studies and planning.
Oh, that's very relevant.
Yeah.
Cool.
Have you picked up any new hobbies since we've been on lockdown?
Oh no.
No.
No. I was gonna crack a joke, but about the things that I've picked up during COVID.
No.
But picked up bad habits maybe.
Uh, hopefully you haven't picked up COVID. That would be good enough.
No, that's the important thing
Okay,
is
good.
neither I haven't and no one in my immediate family, thank goodness. In
Okay.
fact, my dad just got vaccinated a week and a half ago, and it was just a tremendous weight off of my shoulders.
Yeah,
Like,
I imagine it must be a relief. That's
yeah,
good.
he's almost 90, and if he got COVID, it would be probably most likely very serious. So
Right, right.
huge relief.
Yeah,
Yeah. What about you?
that's good to
Everybody in your family healthy?
My parents actually got it over the summer, but they were okay. It was it
Oh, they're young. They're
Yeah,
younger.
yeah, they're young. So I mean, they went through it was about 10 to 14 days that they were sick and all the usual symptoms, but no need for hospitalization or anything like that.
Thank goodness.
Still don't really know how they got it, but
Oh,
um,
really?
yeah. I mean, they were going
Oh,
into work, but no one they worked with had it, so not really
oh
sure.
wow.
Other than that, they were staying home.
Hmm.
So I'm not entirely sure how or where they
At
got
least
it.
they were all right. That's
Yeah.
good.
Hmm.
Hi, Eva.
Hello.
Hi, Joyce.
Hi, everyone.
Hello.
Hello, everybody.
Chair, I'm going
Yes.
to be recusing myself from the, what I believe is the first item after the continuance. It's actually item number 2 on the agenda, but it's the first item that I think we're.
Okay. 2405 Huntington Drive.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
And are we gonna, I believe committee member Lakon will also be recusing herself. She sent an email earlier this week. Did you want both of the alternates to vote?
I don't know what the procedure is for that exactly. Whether because we didn't have 2 alternates until fairly recently. So is it that if we have a quorum, we don't use the alternates, or do we automatically fill empty seats with the alternates?
We've gone back and forth a few times, but I think ultimately it'll be at the chair's discretion. So you can determine if you feel that you're comfortable with just having the members of the quorum vote, that would be one option. But if you'd prefer that the alternates vote to have a full 5 votes, you could also go that way. So,
I mean, I think that's what the alternates are for. They are ultimately fill seats so that we have 5 points of view. So I think let's do that.
okay.
Unless someone has another, I don't know. Committee member Chang, do you?
Yeah, I think we talked to Eva once before. It is okay to have the alternate vote, especially you have 2 abstaining. That means you only got 3 left, and
Right.
we do have 2. So I think it would be good. It's nice to have their opinion. They'll have to vote on it too.
Yeah, more voices are better. 5 opinions are probably more productive. So yes, let's do it from that way, and let's do it from that way from now on.
Okay.
That we always routinely use our alternates as voting members.
Right.
Okay.
Thank you, Chair.
那为什么他们已经在上面？
Okay, so since it's 7 o'clock, I will begin the meeting of the San Marino Design Review Committee of February 3rd, 2021. Welcome, everybody. We will forego the flag salute for now until we are all in front of a flag. And right now I'd like to make some comments about the procedures for the evening. Each committee member has received plans and has reviewed every item on the agenda and visited each site. The general order for hearing each case will be as follows. The committee will ask staff any questions they may have. The chair will then ask the applicant or the applicant's representative to comment on the proposal. The hearing will then be opened to the public and the chair will ask for comments for, against, or about the project. In all cases, please come forward and give your name and address. At the conclusion of the public comments, the applicant will have a chance to respond and no further comments from the public will be accepted. The chair will then ask for comments from each of the committee members. If there is no motion for approval or denial, the DRC has the option of continuing the application to a future meeting. In the event of a denial, it is hoped that the applicant will have heard comments during the public comment period and during deliberations that will be useful in resubmitting an application. It is important for the property owner to understand that once a project is approved by the DRC, the drawings become legal documents. If any changes are made to the project subsequent to the approval without obtaining proper approval of those changes, then the property owner is in fact breaking the law. There is risk of having to change the project back to the originally approved design or paying a fine to the city of San Marino equal to the greater of 5% of the project valuation or $2,500, and then resubmitting the changes made to the project to the DRC. It is also important to understand that there is a 15-day appeal period after action has been taken for the applicant or any interested party to request the Planning Commission to review and act on the case. After all of the agenda items have been heard, 2 design review committee members will conduct the open forum. At this time, residents or their representatives may ask committee members about current or future projects relating to their property. Committee members can discuss the design with you, but cannot comment on how they might vote on the project. So we'll now start with the first item on the agenda, which is design review case number DRC 18-82, 1360 Granada Avenue. And I understand that staff is is recommending a continuance to allow time for story polls for the second story addition. Is that correct?
That's correct, Chair.
Okay, so seeing that the staff has recommended the continuance, does this require a vote, or do we just move on to the next item on the agenda, Ms. Troy?
Please take a vote. That way we have it for the record.
Okay.
Please vote.
Okay, yes. So I will move to continue design review case number DRC 18-82, 1360 Granada Avenue. Could we have a roll call, please?
I second the motion.
Second.
Oh, yes, thank you. Sorry. Thank you for the second. And could we have a roll call?
Sure. Committee Member McKay,
Yes.
Committee Member Lakon,
Yes.
Committee Member Chang,
Right now.
Yes.
is market.
Vice Chair Wong.
On a date of what we believe it would be best guess, and we can always revisit.
Yeah.
Okay.
What do we think?
So I think.
Based on him starting around the 15th, he'll take a couple weeks.
Did we get that
Hello.
last one?
Good evening.
Oh,
Hi, Peter.
I believe you just missed the vote, Vice Chair Wong. We're voting on to continue the first item.
Yes.
And Chair Batnich?
Yes.
Okay. Motion carries.
Okay, so we now move on to the second item on the agenda, design review case number DRC 20-69, 2405 Huntington Drive. And could we have the staff report, please?
Sure. Design review case number DRC 20-69 is a request to install a business sign to an existing commercial building located at 2405 Huntington Drive. The proposed sign will measure 12 feet wide by 3.5 feet tall, or 42 square feet, and will be made up of aluminum face in matte black powder coated texture with white acrylic push-through letters. The sign will be mounted on a parapet wall and will extend 4.5 inches from the face of the wall. The sign will be backlit during nighttime hours by way of LED modules. For some background on this property, the existing commercial building was approved by the San Marino Planning Commission at the November 24th, 2014 meeting. The original project approval included 3 internally illuminated commercial signs, each measuring approximately 22 square feet. The approved signage was not installed and the signage approval is no longer valid. In October of 2020, the applicant filed the current application, which you are reviewing today. After further consideration, staff is recommending continuance of this item to give the applicant additional time to redesign a sign that staff feels may be more compatible with the neighborhood, similar to individual channel letter signs seen throughout the neighborhood. That concludes staff's presentation.
Thank you. And I just wanted to point out that committee members McKay and Lakon are recusing themselves from this item on the agenda. Would the, given the fact that there's a continuance, I guess I'll give the applicant the choice of whether you would like to say something today or would you like to just wait until next time?
I'm curious your reason for the continuance. There's no reason for a continuance. Can we proceed with today?
I would say so, yes.
Code.
The item was still
It
properly.
meets all the city specs.
So if
Okay,
oh, excuse me, go ahead.
so Marlon, tell me what it doesn't meet the city standards. I don't understand.
It's not necessarily standards, but there were one of the findings for compatibility is when the staff feels that is not able to be met based on the sign that's proposed. Again, it's up to the committee to decide whether to continue now or to allow for discussion and make a decision following that discussion in your presentation.
I would say that I would like to give the applicant the option to briefly introduce the project, and perhaps there will be something that comes out of this that is useful to the applicant in doing so.
Okay. I've been working with the city for about 1.5 years on this project just to get the sign. So there's a little bit more background that maybe that they're not aware of, but we don't need to go into that. Let's just proceed with what we have. I understand the staff is saying that it is not compatible with the surrounding area. And my question is, how is it not compatible when it's the same type of signs that exist at Wells Fargo Bank and also Dolly Realty? And both of those projects were approved. So I'm trying to figure out or ask for discussion on this as far as why you don't think it's compatible with the surrounding neighborhood and what the issues are. I'd like to hear that.
Okay, this is a time for you to, give your introduction, presentation, briefly go over what it is if you would like to do so. It's not really like it's not exactly like a discussion exactly. So it's
Okay.
not really like, it's not like a Q&A where you ask us something and then we answer. So
All right. Then
if you would like, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Julian, who's our designer, can you go ahead and speak about the sign itself?
We should be on the call.
Where'd he go?
Is it Julian Pearson? I believe he is on the
Yeah, I
call.
believe so. If Julia wants to speak up. Otherwise.
He was here just a moment ago.
We'll
So
give him a minute. We'll give him a minute to come back on, but in the meantime, would you like to say
Sure.
anything?
So this is our security, or our company, San Marino Security Systems. It's a building that we just finished 2 years ago. And we get compliments almost daily on this building as far as the architecture of it and so forth. And the one comment people always make is, why is there one dead palm tree out in front, which we fixed? And the other comment is, how come you don't have a sign on your business? And we've been working with staff trying to hone this down to have a sign that staff would agree upon, and we thought everything had been ironed out. So the sign is not a box sign, and I think that's one thing that maybe the staff didn't understand, or there's a little bit of confusion on. It is not a box sign. That's what originally had been proposed by the planning, or been approved by the planning commission, to have 3 signs out there. And then once we looked at it and said, well, we're only going to occupy this building. I only want 1 sign as a business owner and also the property owner. I only want 1 sign in front of this building. So we thought, okay, let's just put the 1 sign in, modify it so that it is not a box sign. It is it's almost like it's a raised lettering. And I know the trend nowadays is to go with, what's it called, pop-out lettering or channel lettering. We can't do channel lettering because when we originally designed the building and was approved by the planning commission, when we set up the electrical for this, it was set up in such a way that it had to be this type of sign. So it is to say, it's not a box sign. It's a flat panel sign that has cut through raised white lettering that comes through it. The sign itself is only about 4.5 inches from the wall. So this is what we've been trying to present and working with the city, trying to get this through. And I think there was maybe some misconception at the very end that they thought this was a box sign. It is not a box sign whatsoever. There's enough box signs around here, and I'm not in favor of them. So that's a little bit of background on us. We're just trying to get some signage there, and hope you like our design and we'll approve it.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions from the committee members for the applicant?
Yes, I do.
Yes.
I looked at your sign detail. I don't know whether Ms. Pearson is going to be able to get on later and answer from a more of a designer point of view. It is a box sign, no matter how you look at it. I don't see how that could be not a box sign, because the lettering is inside that black box. And if you look, I happen to be one of the commissioners that approved the building back when you were going through the application back then.
Remember?
You remember? Okay. So if you look at the building is beautiful, it's done a great job, you got a lot of compliment. But I think this sign, the way it is now, it's not the right fit for the sign, for the building. I'd like to talk to your sign designer and maybe understand why couldn't they do a channel letter, meaning the letters are individual, so that they will go with the architecture a lot better than having a big box sign like this. Some of the examples that you gave out, every project, every building is a little different. The architecture is different. The signage to go with that architecture is also critical. And unfortunately, I think you'll be doing yourself a disservice by having this sign the way it is on this building. I think it would take away a lot of value and quality from your building. So if I don't know whether your sign designer is there, I can talk to her, or if not, I think we need to talk to a better sign designer to come up with something a lot better than what we see in front of us. That's my personal opinion. So I just want to share that with you.
Okay, well, I think you just hurt his feelings because he's online now.
Okay, then I will allow the designer to speak now. We were asking for you earlier, but maybe you had trouble getting on. If you're on, we can switch to go back to the applicant's presentation or introduction. And Mr. Peterson, are you there?
Yeah. We see him.
Is he paying attention, or is he
No.
trying to unmute, or?
Or is he not there anymore?
No, he disappeared.
Okay,
It's not on the
Um,
anymore.
okay. We lost him apparently.
Is it the
I mean,
guy?
I would like to give him the chance to present, but it's been a few minutes and he hasn't been on. I will go back to continue with the questions for the applicant
Okay,
from committee members.
yeah, go ahead.
Yes, are there, do any committee members have questions for the applicant? I have a question. Would you mind me asking what types of signs you considered? I know that you settled on this particular sign, but did you consider different types of designs or different types of materials? You have a building that I think that you're going for a very Spanish look. Did you consider different signs or different styles?
Sure, we did. The independent light sign lettering, I don't think, and I don't mean to disagree with you, Raymond, but I disagree. I don't think it enhances a building like this. This is kind of a unique building here in town. And I think it's more of a modern look for those signage with the cutout lettering. And I just don't see how that's going to look on a building like this. Number one, we're not set up for electrical whatsoever, because when you did approve, along with the rest of the commissioners, did approve our originally signage, that's what we set up our electrical for. There's not a way that we can go back unless we start tearing out plaster to redo the electrical individual letters work. So that's kind of where we're caught in a hard place too, is because we can't change the electrical at this point. It was already set up for what was approved by the planning commission at that time.
Our sign designer, Julian, is having a difficult time on the Zoom, but I do have him on the phone on speaker, so I hope everyone can hear. Julian, if you want to start, feel free to go. Hopefully everyone can hear him.
Hello, everyone.
Good.
So I had a hard time hearing what was being discussed, but I understand that there was a question as to the type of sign in comparison to a box sign. We steered away from the box sign design, which is, typical to some of the other signs along the boulevard. By not having an illuminated background, having where only the letters or the copy area lights up, just to reduce the glare and the brightness of the sign. So only the letters are lighting up, the background is not, which is more indicative of a box sign when you have a plastic insert where there's vinyl lettering on it and the entire cabinet lights up.
Did you, could I ask you, as a designer, what other either materials or styles or design that, in terms of even the font, everything, the whole design of the whole sign, the concept and the colors, the lettering, the frame, the materials, did you consider other types that might look appropriate for what is supposed to be more of like a traditional Spanish style, which I think is, by the way, very much different than any of the other types of buildings that are close by? For example, the Wells Fargo building, it's a very modern building, maybe 60s or something, versus this is a quite different. So I think what I don't want to put words into Mr. Cervantes's mouth, but I believe that perhaps what he was alluding to, and when it comes to compatibility, was more compatibility with itself. So given that, I believe that is the intention of talking about compatibility. Did you consider other materials, designs, size and all of that?
Well, the sign design was not necessarily designed based on trying to have a Spanish style or Mediterranean style look, more so than to have a design style to the likings of the client and of their logo and of their company identity.
Okay. And
Chair, if I may ask a question to the designer. Julian, I apologize. I didn't catch your name earlier. But have you considered a reverse channel backlit type sign that are not as prominent as this big box that we're looking at? I know you don't call it a box sign, but I don't see what else you can call it. It is a the lighting is inside, and I don't understand the electrical portion too, because sooner or later you're gonna have to provide electrical behind the parapet or the wall to get power to it, right? Do you know where the power is at that time? Because by looking at your original design and this design, the location and how you feed the lighting is exactly the same.
Now, let me interrupt here for a moment if I can. The lighting was set for 3 box signs initially approved by the Planning Commission back a few years ago. And the electrical was already put in at that time, and the electrical exists in those 3 locations. It's dead center of each wall, of each parapet. So we can't go through the back of it. That's all plastered, and we're not going to rip out plaster to remove electric. So that was and the reason we put it there again was because based on the approved plans that had gone through Planning Commission. So sorry to interrupt, but
Yeah.
The channel letters require electrical in every letter spot. It would have had to been pre-planned in the building for a designated location. So that's why we tried to compromise with this sign.
And what about a non-illuminated sign?
Why would I do with part of my business is to advertise my business that I'm here. And if you could only see it during the daytime, that's why I don't see very often where there's a business that has non-illuminated. And I understand when I walk around here and I see some of the old decrepit buildings that exist right along within our block or the next block, they are not illuminated signs, but most of those people are out of business also, if you haven't take a walk through there, stroll through there. So it needs to be an illuminated sign. I can't see not illuminating it for any reason at all.
If I may address Mr. Chen's question, you had questioned why not a panel with the illumination in the back, and that's actually what this is. This is a panel that has been routed out or laser cut out so that only the light is penetrating at the point of the letters, so that we do not have a big white box on the wall.
It's almost like having standout letters, independent letters, but we're just putting it on a backplate, you might say.
Exactly. It is exactly what we do in case where we have a large number of letters to curb the cost of individual letters, or the letters are too small and individual letters just would not work. We'd end up making Swiss cheese of the wall. And in your particular case, there is no back access to the wall. So this is the most viable and definitely the most cost-effective way of doing it, and getting the same effect of individual letters on the wall. That's the appearance that we're going.
Thank you. I believe we have a question from Committee Member Chow.
Yes, if I may, I have a couple of questions for the applicant. The first one, I'll just tell you all my questions first, if I may. The first one is your business hours. The reason I'm asking that is you're proposing a illuminated signage, and it depends on how much daylight we get during different seasons. I just want to kind of get some idea that your operating hours, weekdays and weekends. And the second question is that from what I see, that I can find, that San Marino security system doesn't really have a logo per se. It's just words or font. That I'd just like to have you confirm that. That's my second question. And the third question I have is we have this plan that was originally approved for 3 signs. They all seem to me at smaller sizes, each one. Can you, now of course, these could be just placeholders because you see one that's Huntington Coffee and Cafe, and then there's San Marino Security System separated. I'd just like to get a little bit, so currently all that space, all those 3, if you can confirm, are they all occupied by San Marino Security Systems? And you're proposing 1 sign and not 3. So if you could just, those are the 3 questions I have. Thank you.
Sure. I thought the commission would love the fact that I'm cutting down from 3 signs to 1, for one thing. But the 1 sign is just for us exclusively. There will be no other additional signs on this building. I can attest to that because I'm the business, so I get a little to say on that. I do have a tenant below there, and he's not interested in any signs anyways, other than a little sign on his door. And we occupy probably 3/4 of the downstairs to begin with. So eventually our long-term plan is we will take over the corner unit also. We'll occupy the entire downstairs.
And I believe you had a couple of other questions as
Right.
well.
What could you address the first 2?
Sure.
If you can just confirm the logo, regarding the logo and in the business hours.
Our logo you've probably seen all over town on people's lawns. That's our, or you might say our trademark or our logo. I thought about putting that same logo up on this sign also to identify it. And I just thought it gave it more of a cluttered effect. I'm looking a little bit for something a little bit more elegant and more San Marino-ish, if you might say. And I didn't want to cloud it up with other things other than just a nice, clean sign that said our name. And that's what I was going for. Just something, a very clean and elegant sign that told people who we are without having to put other things into it. If people want to see our logos, look up in people's lawns. Hours of operation. I can tell you we close our doors, we lock our doors at 5, but we're a security company. We're 24/7. And I mean literally 24/7. And Raymond, you could probably attest to this because my daughter lives upstairs, and the only reason, or one of the reasons that it was approved is because if we had a problem in the middle of the night, which happens all the time, she's able to go downstairs, down into our office, jump on the computer and help our clients out. We're a 24/7 operation. We don't have set hours per se, but we do lock our doors at 5, but people can come in at any time if they call and say, I need something. We're right here on the property. The property is maintained and manned by us 24/7.
I remember that agreement clearly.
And we're, by the way, this is their home.
Okay. So I have a question then. Is the intention to have the sign, if you are pointing out that you're a 24-hour business, is the intention to have the sign up illuminated 24 hours a day?
No, it doesn't need to be that. No, I mean, who's on Huntington Drive at 1 a.m, except the drunks? And I used to arrest those drunks, by the way. Sidetrack here. It doesn't need to be on 24/7. No, it's at a reasonable time. But 1 hour after close of business, that's pushing it a little bit, you might say, especially if it doesn't get dark till 8 o'clock. And obviously, we like to use it for a little bit of advertising too, to tell people that we're here. And in the wintertime, when traffic is going by at 6, 7 o'clock at night, to me, that would be reasonable. Or maybe turn it off at 8, but it doesn't need to be on all the time. I'd like to save electricity, even though we tried to go as green as we could we put in about $60,000 worth of solar panels up on top, just to try and reduce our footprint and so forth to help that out. So it's not that, well, at any rate.
Thank you.
Get the idea.
Are there any other questions for the applicant from committee members?
Yeah.
Okay, seeing none, we will now move on to the public comment portion. Are there any members here from the public to speak for, against, or about this project? I don't believe that I see anyone. Okay, so we will now close the public comment period and move on to committee member discussion. Committee member Rick Chow, would you like to begin?
Sure. Well, the first thing I want to say is something that the applicant and other committee members have pointed out as well. This is a really nice building, so you guys really did a great job there. It's interesting that currently there's really no sign per se, except that in the back by the parking area, there is this law firm, which is kind of almost kind of a separate thing. It has the awning, has the just the printed law firm, the name on the awning. But my take on this this proposed sign is that the main issue for me is I think the scale, the size is a little bit too heavy, meaning a little bit the sign I think is a little bit too big, the footprint. The style I also would like to see something that's a little bit more integrated, a little bit more compatible with the building itself. Just because the building is such a nice building, it has such a strong character. And this is being the first sign, possibly the only sign in the front facing the street. I think we need to put a little bit more emphasis on it. Even looking at the original proposal, I know again this is artist's impression, but little of the scroll, just a little bit design feature. I think that will soften the look because the sign that's currently being proposed, it definitely has a very strong kind of a stern security company, more of a modern approach to it. I don't think you need to. Ideally, maybe you don't have to change it too much because your company logo is not really it's not really being presented that kind of a the yellow font, the yellow color and all that. I think I'm just hoping that there's a way you can find it, just kind of soften a little bit, somehow bringing a little bit design element in there to it to kind of have a little bit more integrated, a little bit more compatible with the building. And again, the size, I would like to see that somehow being reduced a little bit too. Those are my opinions as of now. Thank you.
Thank you. Vice Chair Wong, would you like to go next?
Thank you. Sure. Yeah, I echo Committee Member Chow in thanking the owner and the team in putting a beautiful property in the major part of our San Marino Huntington Boulevard and upkeeping it well. I am also surprised as to in the past 2 years or so, there's no signage outside, but now this conversation I think is productive. I believe we share some of our thoughts. And for me, I also referenced the approved planning commission drawing back then that I understand the designer is using the percentage allowed in the facade space to put up the size of the signage. But for me, I would not only look at the facade space as a whole, but also in that particular section, because as this Spanish building is so unique that if we have two dominating signage in terms of size, I think it is not helping the architecture itself. It would be a disservice. I have no problem that it is in language saying the name of the company, just like your neighbors, towards the east side of the section of the stretch. But I do agree that if some more thoughts can be put on to soften the current functional purpose of the signage, that will add a fair amount of aestheticity and beauty to the entire architecture. And I agree, your team probably is not that far. And I hope that you guys can touch up and be agreeable in reducing the quite overwhelming size on this particular section of the front facade. I think I can see that being a very agreeable project next time. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's see. We have committee member Lakon has recused herself and committee member McKay has recused herself. So committee member Rick Cho, excuse me, committee member Tony Chow.
Thank you. I have to kind of agree with most of my fellow committee members. I think it's not bad, but kind of like the conversation we were having with the designer. I think maybe the scope and the outline criteria can be tweaked so we can come out with a product that everyone's happy with and fits this building better. I do agree. The sign is a little, it feels like a box and it feels a little clunky being dead center at that size. And I think with just a little work, now that, you know, the designer and the owner has heard some comments, we can definitely get towards a sign that, you know, fits this area of the city and this building itself.
Okay.
Thank you. So that leaves committee member Cheng.
Thank you. I guess I am still being bothered quite a bit by the overall proportion of the sign to that wall panel. If you look at the original rendering elevation, the overall size of that signage, the whole width is less than the two windows above. And your proposed sign at this point is dimension 12 feet to the O of the San Marino. So it sounds like it's going to be up to about 13 feet and 3'6" tall in the panel. And when you do that, you're putting a 3'6" solid metal panel into a 5'3" parapet wall. That leaves you just inches on top and bottom. You basically plastered the entire balcony with that sign. I honestly feel that it is a mistake, and I you know, we everybody love your building and everybody knows you in town. Everybody knows you. I know that. So I just think that you should work with your designer and restudy the original elevation and try to come up with something proportionally fit your building better. And I don't know whether he's a sign builder or not, but if you got power behind the wall, they can easily provide power to do it. I like to see some channel letter reverse background lit But if you have to do a plate with cutout letter, I don't think a matte black a metal with that size will fit your building. It just takes too much away from your building. So please have your sign designer look at it carefully. If you look at compared to two elevation, it's way bigger than what was considered back then in proportion to the building. So that's I think we can continue it for you to do a better job. And I think at the end, everybody will love the building and the sign too. So that's what I hope to see.
Thank you. I agree with all of the comments that are made. If there's one thing that it seems that you probably should take away from this discussion, it's that every single person has stressed and emphasized how off the scale is, how large the scale is, and how the overall size is overwhelming to the facade of this building. It's, I think, one of the reasons why this building, was passed by the Planning Commission, however long ago, maybe 4 years ago or something, was that it has a very, you're going for clearly a classical Spanish look. And as Committee Member Chang pointed out, the signage really should go with the architecture. And in the case of, as the example, the Wells Fargo building, it's a very modern building that, a very sharp edged, designed with more modern materials makes a lot of sense there. And that's why we call it compatibility with itself, because that sign makes sense on that building. And you are going for a Spanish look on this building, and there's clearly a lot of Spanish elements on the building. So you're going for sort of old time Spanish. The sign needs to reflect old time Spanish in some ways. So there's different ways to achieve that. Part of that is, where would a sign on an old time Spanish building go? What would be the size of that? What would be the materials of that? The material may well be wood and not plastic or neon or vinyl or whatever, because that doesn't scream Spanish to anyone. So I think in particular on this building, the way the sign is very sensitive, much more sensitive than some of the, I would not necessarily call them decrepit buildings that are nearby, but let's call them more
Rundown?
I would call them more, they have less of a stylistic, of a pronounced style. They're nondescript, let's call them. And I actually mean that word, because when you talk about sort of more of a simple box that's, one story kind of simple box with maybe a little bit of stylistic flourish, but a very simple one, then, a sign, there's a little bit more leeway to a sign on that kind of a building. Whereas this building, it requires a lot of sensitivity to the sign, much more so than I would say almost any other building on this block, couple blocks. So the size is for sure a big issue, but it's not just the size, it's also the material and the amount and type of illumination. For example, I don't think anyone wants, if I've understood my fellow committee members, I'm getting the sense that something that is strongly lit or very much lit from within is not maybe something that will work on this building. Maybe something with a subtle, very subtle backlighting, so that you could still, there is a little bit of maybe illumination might be more appropriate. Perhaps something with you know, we're always supposed to tell you, we're not designing for you. We're just, I'm getting the feeling based on some of your responses that you may not be taking this to heart. So I'm kind of going the extra step here to try to give you some examples of illumination that may be more subtle, maybe underlighting, very subtle underlighting, or maybe very subtle backlighting, perhaps no lighting at all. I know that might, based on what you said that was, you know, you wouldn't consider that, but you might consider that. Also, as Committee Member Chow pointed out, the type of font that you're using, maybe not something so hard-edged. If you're open to different lettering, if you're not using your logo, you have some leeway to make it look a little bit more of a classic Spanish look in some ways, whether it's softer. I think softer has been the word that's used, to something a little very elegant and soft and stylistic, and something that you can see on an older Spanish style building. So I hope that that's helpful to you. I would really urge you to take to heart what the committee has told you today, and to try to find a design or designer who will understand the comments that were made here by all of the committee members, which I believe were pretty much universal. Another thing I wanted to point out just to you and to the committee is that, you know, you're sort of trying to combine 3 signs into one, and I understand your logic in that, but it's just not appropriate to the architecture. And another thing I wanted to point out is that, you know, I don't think that we could approve anything that's larger than what you had originally depicted in the previously approved design, because while you say that there's like going to be 1 sign only, you know, that can change next year. You sell the building, you get 3 businesses in there, you know, then we've got 1 giant sign and then a bunch of little signs as well. So I think that out of all of what I've seen, like the previous design, the previous sketch that was approved several years ago is more along the lines of something that is more approvable than what we saw that was submitted for today. So I think the committee is being, I'm going to ask for a motion, and I know that there's been a staff recommendation to continue the project. I want to advise you in a friendly way to try to help you moving forward so that you can get something to be approvable, that you really take heart what has been said, and consider the fact that the committee has been perhaps generous by allowing you the chance to come back with another proposal and not deny. So I would like to ask for a motion.
I move to continue DRC case number 20-69.
Second.
I will second that.
I
Can we have
believe-
roll call, please?
Yeah, I believe Committee Member Chang seconded that, so I'll put him down in the record. Alternate Committee Member Tony Chow,
You were muted, Tony.
Yes.
alternate Committee Member Rick Chow,
Yes.
Committee Member Chang,
Yes.
Vice Chair Wong,
Yes.
and Chair Batnich.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, thank you. We now move on to the 3rd item on the agenda, design review case number DRC 20-58 and 21-03, 2640 Mission Street. Also, could we have committee members McKay and Lakon? Are they back? Okay, I see committee member McKay. It looks like committee member Lakon is back too. Okay, so staff, could we please have the presentation for 2640 Mission?
Sure. Design review case number DRC 20-58 and 2103 are proposals to make exterior modifications and install a business sign to an existing commercial building at 2640 Mission Street. Exterior modifications to the facade of the building include removing 2 rectangular windows and a display niche and replacing it with a square display window with UV tint film. The replacement window will feature the same precast concrete detail surrounds to match the rest of the facade. Existing metalwork found above the doorway and on either side of the door will be removed and replaced with similar style decorative metalwork. New signage proposed for the building will measure approximately 6 square feet and will be in an antique bronze finish. Individual channel letters for the proposed sign are to be backlit. Staff can make the findings for this request and recommends the added condition that the UV tint film be eliminated from the windows as proposed.
Okay, thank you. Is the applicant here to briefly discuss the project?
Sorry, Chair, may I ask a quick question to the staff?
Yes.
Thank you. The UV tinted window, how does that alternate the appearance when it's UV tinted?
It makes, my understanding is that it makes the windows darker. It is in our commercial design guidelines, however, that is something that is recommended against. And that's why the recommendation.
Thank you.
Just to follow up, is it a film put on top of the glass panel, or it is built in the manufacturing stage? Do you know?
I don't know when it's applied. However, on the elevation plan, it is listed as a film.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for Mr. Cervantes?
I just want to clarify that if it's a film, it's more or less what you put in your car window, and they do get heated and then they start bubbling, and it's not the right thing to do, because they could easily go into a different color tinted window would it achieve the same thing without the filming. So that's a good recommendation from staff, that we do not allow that.
Any other questions for Mr. Cervantes? Okay, seeing none, we will now ask the applicant if the applicant would like to present anything. I know I already asked this, but I had forgotten to ask for committee member questions for staff. Just want to make sure that they're not here. Okay, I don't see them. So then we will now move on to public comments. Is there anyone here to speak for, against, or about the project? Okay, seeing none, we will now close the public hearing, and we will move on to committee member discussion. Committee member Lacon. Committee member Lacon. Yeah.
Hello. Yes. Well, I like this project. I could support it in its current condition. I think that the new window actually is cleaner looking, and it's very elegant along with the lettering, and I can support it as presented. My concern now is, without hearing from the applicant, I'm concerned about the UV protection that the applicant is looking for. And if it's something that they need the UV protection because of the furnishings or something that's inside that's going to fade or react to the sun, and that's why they're requesting that. It would be something that I would like that addressed before it went ahead for approval and possibly for a condition. So that would be my only issue with it tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Committee member Chang.
Yeah, I basically agree with what was said. I was really concerned about the film. If we were to approve it with that recommendation per staff report, then I want to make sure that the applicant can accept that condition for one, and then otherwise I can support the project.
Okay, thank you. Vice Chair Wong?
The property is in the commercial end of Mission towards the east, and the facade and the entrance door is north facing. I see the backlit design of the new proposed signage as well as the cast iron design around the entrance door are compatible with the design of the property, and by keeping the original entry door, that is a good call. But I do not see any reason of applying a tinted glass panel there. Number one is that it is north facing, so the sun effect actually doesn't really exist. Not to mention that the guideline discourage colored glass panel usage. May it be a film, which is really bad. It would downgrade the entire, brand value of the shop. But even if it is not using film, it would darken the entire look of the supposedly welcoming store. And in the entire area across East Julian and many other stores or Gale and things like that, I mean, nobody's using colored panel glass. So I just cannot accept or agree to using any tinted color panel there. A clear glass would be good, which would help bring people into the store. I hope that's the purpose. And nobody would put a piece of big furniture right in front of that window to block whatever is the view inside. So I think it probably is the best for the property owner and operator to have a simple glass panel than a tinted one. But beyond that, I think the project is with merit, and I can support it with the condition proposed by staff report. Thank you.
Thank you. Committee Member McKay?
Thank you. I can support the project with the limitations and conditions delineated by staff. It's a significant commercial block in our city across the street from Julienne, which is sort of a landmark business. I appreciate the care and thought that have been put into the design, and I would be prepared to approve it tonight with the exact conditions that have been set forth by staff. Thank you.
Thank you. Committee Member Rick Chow?
Yes, I think overall I can support it. However, I do have a couple of questions. I was hoping that the applicant would be here today to kind of elaborate a little bit more about a couple of things. The first question I have, this is something I'm kind of bouncing off my questions to see what the other committee members think about this. Is this of any concerns? The signage, we really don't have a very detailed presentation about the signage. I mean, the only information that I can see from the plan is kind of this logo, which looks nice, but there's what is exactly the material. Maybe I'm missing that part of the information, but I'm not sure if it's there. I think, seems like whenever there's something particularly like on the facade, it's a signage proposal. I was hoping to learn a little bit more about it. The illumination, the construction, the finish, the color, and all that. Related to that, question to my fellow committee members is that, are we going to have this sign illuminated like during the day, also at nighttime? Are there other illuminated signs on the street, on the same block? I personally haven't really visited that particular block. So that's my question to the committee as well. Do we have any concerns, have this sign just left on, or do we want to kind of put a limit on it, hours and all that? Seems like we tend to do that. And the last question, I was hoping to find out a little bit from the applicant. When I visited the job site, the applicant was there. He saw me taking photos. He came out. I asked the questions at that point. But at that time, I was hoping that we would share that. I would share that information with all the committee. The question I had, maybe it's not a concern, is that, well, if you look at the concrete, proposed concrete surround, if you look at the building, do we have any concern that they can do a good job matching it? Does it need to have any color kind of mixed in? I'm not sure. That's really my question. So those are the three things: the hours, the sign, and the matching of the concrete surround.
Thank you. Committee member Tony Chow.
I actually have a question more for staff. I mean, I'm wondering, it doesn't seem like the committee would approve this the way it is. So is it possible for it to be approved with conditions without the applicant present to accept?
It would be possible, and I don't mean to speak for the applicant, but I did let him know that I would be recommending this condition, and he was amenable to it.
Okay.
One condition about the film?
Correct.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead, Tony Chow.
Oh no, I mean, I just a little bit. I mean, from my side is, yeah, it would be immensely helpful if they were here to, explain a little more, share a little more on the sign. But I think we're all in agreement on the UV film not being the right decision, and I'd be curious to see what the reason, I guess, that they put that into the application, even being given feedback from staff already.
Okay, thank you.
Chair, yeah, since this
yes.
is a discussion, right? So if I may
Yes.
just then do a ping pong as well. I think committee member Rick Chow raised a very good point, is that given the absence of the applicant, there's no way for us to get clarification on material, lighting, features, and whatnot on the signage. And the committee has been very rigid on that kind of situation and requirement. And I think we need to be really consistent. So I think we all hope that there's a way to have a communication with the applicant and get a clarification, but sounds like there's impossible. And despite the fact that staff talked about the amenable decision by the applicant on the tinted glass panel, but I think the signage situation, as well as assurance that the facade repair could be consistent throughout, would not be able to given to us tonight. So I personally has doubt that if we can even agree on approving with a condition tonight. So more like continuance, in my opinion. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I agree. When committee member Rick Chow mentioned the concerns about signage, I share those concerns. It wasn't detailed enough for me. I think we have always asked for more details than what was submitted. I mean, what's there looks good, but it's hard to really discern exactly what it is, and there's too many ways that it could turn into something that we didn't envision or didn't think that we were approving. I wouldn't be concerned if it was just the suggested condition of approval besides the UV film not being approved. But without answers about the sign, we cannot approve this with conditions. I'm just wondering what the other committee members suggest in terms of, as a discussion first before I ask for motions, is this, something that we deny because there was insufficient information and the applicant failed to appear and to clarify anything? Or do we give them the chance to, do we continue it on the understanding that the applicant is aware that the committee is, doesn't support the UV film, is concerned about the, that the color of the, cement or whatever is matching, let's say, the existing, and that we want a lot more detail about the signage. Is this a denial or a continuance? I mean, yes, Committee Member McKay.
Thank you. I would support a continuance then, because it sounds like, it doesn't sound like the applicant was trying to fly in the face of design guidelines on UV film, because Mr. Cervantes explained to them that that would be a condition, and they said that they would be amenable. So I'm not really sure if anybody in staff can say, and if it's not appropriate to go back to that now, that's fine. But if was there any indication that the applicant would not be here tonight? Is this unexpected? If it's unexpected, perhaps we should just continue it. That would be my thought. Thank you.
Yeah, there was no indication of them not being here. I did send them another email when I saw that at the beginning of the meeting they weren't on the call, but failed to hear back from them again.
Okay, well, then I will ask for a motion.
I'll go ahead and move to continue this project, but clarifying that there are at least 3, maybe 4 issues that the applicant need to come back with clarification next time he comes back. One being the film is to be removed. 2, the signage, it says the letter will be antique bronze finish individual. That word channel letter bothers me, because usually a channel letter, it light up by itself. And then they said to be backlit. Backlit is usually provide lighting behind the metal letter, and you only see a silhouette. So it's really contradicting itself. And I think we need to clarify exactly what that signed letter is like. Is it truly an antique bronze finish metal letter that is raised, that is installed raised away from the wall with lighting behind it to get the silhouette? I think we need to clarify that. The third issue will be he needs to come back and satisfy the committee that because he had to remove quite a bit of those windows and patch the window. That will involve demolishing part of the exterior wall. When he rebuilt the exterior wall, the finish of the exterior wall need to be put back very carefully to match the existing finish. And if they have to repaint the whole building frontage, then the painting should be consistent, and it should achieve that the age look on it too. And I think the last one is on that elevation. It looks like they're removing a piece of decoration on top of the roof line. And I don't know, there's no detail on that except it's just to be removed. I want to make sure that they pay attention to that so we don't cause any problem on top of the roof line. So 4 items that they need to come back with clarification for us. That would be continuing.
I would second that.
Thank you. Mr. Cervantes, did you get all of that?
Yes, I did.
Okay, great. Could we have a roll call?
Okay. Committee Member McKay,
Yes.
Committee Member Lakon,
Yes.
Committee Member Chang,
Yes.
Vice Chair Wong,
Yes.
and Chair.
Yes. Okay, thank you. We will now move on to design, the 4th item of our agenda tonight, design review case number DRC 20-79, 1161 Virginia Road. Could we have the staff report, please?
Yes, thank you, Chair. This is a project for a 1- and 2-story addition to an existing 2-story homes. The addition will provide a new elevator shaft, a new conservatory, a mud room, and a new kitchen, a walk kitchen on the 1st floor. Additionally, a small expansion on the second floor will provide the homeowner an expansion to bedroom number 2 and bathroom number 3. Also a small balcony looking into the backyard. Staff is able to make the compatibility finding for this addition. The modifications are minimally altering the front view of the home facing the street. The home will remain at its current scale and size, also massing as well. Therefore, it will remain compatible on the block. There is no privacy concern or impact on the adjacent neighbor. The new material introduced on the home will be compatible with existing material and the architectural style of the home as well. Staff is looking for your support to approve the project as submitted tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there questions from committee members for Ms. Choi? Okay, seeing none. Yes, go ahead. Sorry.
It's
Go
a
ahead.
little bit off the topic, but certainly related. Just wondering, because when we come to a kind of a state property like this, it basically we're behind the gates. There's no way we can really have a fair assessment unless we make an appointment to kind of tour it, which will be certainly ideal and very helpful, because I'm just looking at the plan personally. I'm just like, oh, I guess that's okay. I guess that's not okay. So my question is that when a situation like this, we have many beautiful, amazing estate properties in San Marino, is it appropriate that we can reach out to the staff and maybe we can make an appointment to actually see it?
Yes, definitely. For future project, of course, reach out to staff if you wish to get access into onto the property to assess the project. However, staff has to let all of the committee know that we cannot have more than 2 committee member meeting at a time to discuss the project or to conduct a site visit. But as for this project, if you wish, depending on the outcome of tonight's deliberation, we can certainly arrange for site visit as well, even after this hearing. The homeowner is here on the call, and she was very gracious and amenable to our request for a site visit earlier today.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, committee member Rick Chow. That's a very good point. And I'm surprised it doesn't happen more often, but somehow it doesn't come up as much as you would expect in San Marino. But yeah, good point. Do we have any other questions for staff from committee members?
Just to confirm, this is just an additional 500 plus square feet. Is that correct? Am I reading that correct on the plans?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
I have one question.
Mm-hmm.
The addition of the, or the kind of the conservatory being removed and the addition, is that, was the conservatory part of the square footage? Was it part of that equation, and then they're adding the other part?
Correct. Currently, the conservatory does not connect back to the surface wing, the wing that extends behind the main portion of the home. There is a triangular shaped gap. So at that location is about roughly about 130 square feet. That is new floor area that we're counting as part of the addition.
Okay.
Does that answer your question?
Well, yeah, and maybe this is for the applicant. The new room is considered, it's called a conservatory. Does it have open, but it doesn't have an open roof, right? A glass roof.
Right, it does.
But it has, does it have open walls?
No.
Is it glass walls, the whole thing?
Yes, the whole thing is glass except for the rear portion of the building. That's in front of the actual house, but the whole front curved part is glass. The ceiling is glass. So it's basically, there's what's on it now I would call a solarium, which is, what you see on like the back of a Wendy's restaurant where it's kind of like that fast food thing. And that was put on in the 80s. So what we're trying to do is remove that and replace it with a proper conservatory that is glass on the front and on the top. I can show you a picture if you'd like for me to share my.
Actually, if we
screen.
could just
wait, we can
hold
wait.
on that, if that's okay, we will give you the chance to do that in a moment. I just want to get back to questions for staff. Okay, Chris, Committee Member Lakon, you don't have any further questions. Okay, anyone else? Okay, so now if the applicants or applicants representative would like to give a brief introduction to the project or overview of the project, now's your chance.
Yes, thank you. Thanks, Mr. Chu, for your report. Good evening, Madam Chair and members of the committee. My name is Alex Cheng, the architect for the project. Let me turn on the share screen. Okay, this is a site that is blank. What happened here? This is a site closely to about 100,000 square foot lot area. As you can see, the house is currently sit right in the middle of the site, which is so far away from any direction. So the work we are planning to do is a 3 area to rehabilitate the existing conservatory area. The back 2 locations are the stair going to be enclosed. And the
Sorry, Mr. Chen, I don't think the site plan comes up.
It's not showing.
In your folder.
It's showing on my screen.
Uh-huh.
You see it there?
We do not.
I see just your table of contents kind of.
Yep.
I see your cursor on the A1.
Right.
And the box checked on the A1, that's it.
I think that your problem, Alex, is that you're probably sharing your window and not your screen. So you're sharing the window that is that folder, but you're not sharing either the window of the file that's being opened, or you're not sharing your screen.
You try clicking share screen on the Zoom meeting at the bottom.
Share screen. Do you see it now, or?
No, I see it.
No, we're seeing the window 1161-DRC. We're seeing just that window, not perhaps not your entire screen.
Do you have a set of plans in front of you? Maybe I can go over just verbally.
Yeah, why don't you do that? Because that looks like you're not going to be able.
Right now.
Yeah, we can no problem.
We can do that. I mean, we can give you another minute to share your screen, but yes, you can speak about the plans.
Okay, so what I'm trying to say, the property is very large. The house is right in the middle of the property and it's so far away, and the entire site is a fully grown landscaping there. What we are doing is a 3 area. We build the rehabilitate the existing conservatory area, which is on the side. of the front elevation. And in the rear area, there's 2 areas going to be closed off, which is the existing stairs and also the covered patio. Now, our intention to this project is not really max out the square footage as you see many cases in the city. Our intention is to rehabilitate the existing conservatory area, to maintain the existing architecture, and to preserve the current condition to its original architectural of the time. Also, if you have your plan in front of you, you can take a look at the sheet A2, which shows the enlarged floor plan. Currently, it is an atrium that has a R-size shape of the space, and there's a really a gap between the buildings. Our intention was try to reunite this location to rebuild and preserve the conservatory area to connect the 2 spaces in between. Because current atrium that the form is type of out of scale, and it is not very energy efficient, and looks like an add-on from the existing architecture. So what we wanted to do is to continue the existing walls, finish with a crown molding, precast molding, which is the original architecture, has a lot of the crown molding details and so forth. Connect with the simple French doors along the side, so it really floats better when you continue from the front side into the rear. That's on this ground floor. Second floor, they basically change it to a suite type of design. So each room will have its own bathroom. And we also look at how to make this addition proper. As you can see from the roof plan, what we add on the second floor is really little 80 square feet for the bathrooms. And currently that roof line sort of a jog back. So our additions to line up the existing roof line, so it looks like the original build. And you might concern because since the building is over 100 years old, will we have the tile, the original tile for the roof to do this addition? The answer to that is yes. Currently, there's a leftover roof tile in the garage. And also we found the original manufacturer for this roof tile company based out of Chicago. If necessary, there's the source we can go to. On sheet A4.1, it shows the elevation, gave you before and after effect, which I talked about earlier a little bit, is continue the tall French door from the front facade and carry out to the side and also to the rear. On the rear facade, which is the 4.2, the rear elevation, currently in this area, throughout the years, has already been modified and add on. So the add-on is very visible, pop out totally different than the original building. So what we wanted to do is to close that area, replace, install the French door to match the front and the side window. And the window is going to be wood parallel windows to match the rest of the house. Lastly, I think we also submitted the sample material board. One of the wrought iron shown on the sample board was taken from the existing detail of the house. So wrought iron detail on the side of the balcony would look very similar to that effect. So as I mentioned before, the intent is to make the new addition or modification on the exterior that will match totally from the existing. That will be brief my presentation, and we have special preservationist designer Josh Kang, who speak earlier a little bit, and also the property owner, Mr. and Mrs. Moy, online. If there's any questions that you might have, we're here to answer. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there questions from committee members for the applicant's applicant and or applicant's representative?
Chair, I do have one question.
Yes, please.
Alex, on your page A4.1 on the new conservatory, your plan called for a standing seam metal roof.
Yes.
So I just want to understand, is that roof basically flat?
Yeah.
Behind
With a very minimum slope built out to drain the water.
and the water is drained from the house towards the window?
Yes, towards the front.
And then the water will get picked up by roof drain internally?
It will be interior downspout discharged to the surface.
Internal downspout, right? You don't see the gutter and the downspout outside?
Right.
Behind this, okay, all right. Okay, I just want to make sure I understand that.
On my submittal, there's also a site pictures being submitted. I believe there's a couple commission member visit the site, and the picture was submitted. We knew that COVID-19 is hard for everyone, so there's 2 pages of a photo of the existing site. Whoever did not get to have a chance to visit, there's a picture for your consideration.
Yes, thank you. We did
Chair, I
receive.
have 2 questions for Mr. Chang, if I may.
Sure.
Mhm.
Right. The first one is that in the drawing, it shows a lift in the current solarium and in the future observatory. Can you elaborate or confirm, is that by that you meant an elevator?
Currently, the house has a basement.
Right.
So basically, we're looking at 3-story vertical circulation.
Right.
So we want to be able to create comfort and convenience for the property owner. So that is the location that we thought work out the best with the existing plan that we have. And most of the part will be inside of the building, except the chimney that has to stick out a bit. So we want to minimize the shaft sizes, which is about 6 by 6.
Right.
And on the top, to finish the shaft, will be copper roofing to match the roof that we have on the conservatory.
Right. So in other words, it is a proposed addition of an elevator.
Yes.
And the shaft is partially in the conservatory's footprint and partially is inside the building.
Yes.
Right. And my second question is again on the copper roofing material for the observatory. Is your material page shows that the copper sheet has some corrugated kind of contour rather than a flat sheet of copper metal. Which is the correct appearance of it?
The material is copper, which is sheet.
Right.
But to lay the sheet in the flat roof, because the copper cannot do the one sheet that size of the roof.
Exactly.
So we have to do a corrugated to allow the water to drain the proper location and through interior downspout and discharge to the site.
All right. Great. Thank you.
Yes.
One question.
Yes, please.
Can I go ahead?
Yeah.
I'm still a little unclear about the conservatory. So am I going? It is still a conservatory? Because I think some of the speakers someone is not muted. The sides, the exterior walls are not clear. Is that right? Except for the French doors?
The
That's right.
exterior wall will be stucco finish to match existing color and material.
Right. So it's an exterior wall. It's not a wall of glass, like a conservatory.
Correct.
Is that right?
It will be a French
then
puncturing glass.
and then the roof is not clear glass either. Is that right?
Correct.
So I mean, I don't mean to question it, but so this is not a conservatory anymore. It is an addition.
Well, we habitate because the existing glass, as I mentioned earlier, that has a lot of sun penetration and very hot in the summer, and it's very low ceiling, and it's just not comfortable certain time of the year. So
Okay.
all the use still be the same, but we're going to improve the comfort temperature inside that area, inside that room.
Okay, so there's a curved exterior wall. Is that correct? It's
Yes.
actually going to be curved, but the doors are not curved, correct? They're straight. They're just flat.
Correct.
Are they recessed like the original part of the house?
Yes, there is a recess.
Same detail. Okay. Will you be able to see the roof from the I know the house sits rather high, so you won't be able to see it. Is that
You
right?
won't be able to see it on the street, and when you're standing on inside the property.
Okay. Okay.
I think there's maybe a terminology issue here, and that's where some of your questions are coming from. So what's on the house now, I would call a solarium. Like I said, kind of a fast food restaurant solarium. What is proposed, I guess I would call a sunroom. The French doors that are on it are wood French doors to match the original wood French doors that are on the first floor of the house. Those are the correct original features. The second floor of this house has had the windows replaced with metal windows. And then the addition, which is the third wing behind what is going to be the sunroom, has even different windows and doors from, I would say, around 1955 or 1960 that are also metal, but are, different from the metal that's on the second floor of the original house. So the sunroom will have a very close match to the original wood windows, or wood doors, I'm sorry, and they would be deeply recessed into the walls, just like they are on the main house.
When you say that they're Pella wood doors, they're
No,
real
they
wood. They're not. They're what?
They would be actual wood doors and windows.
Wood.
Not clad. No.
Not clad. Okay. Thank
Yes.
you.
Thank you. Are there any other questions for the applicant or applicant's representatives?
I do have another one, but I'll wait if someone else has one.
Go ahead.
Okay. Is the railing that the design that is going to be or proposed to be duplicated, is that railing going to stay on the house? Is that part of the plan? Like some of the drawings, it looked like the railing wasn't there anymore. Are you planning on keeping that railing in the back?
Only railing that we added is on the second floor, one of the bedroom, and the den area. There's only new railing that's going to be. The existing railing going to remain there. We're not touching it.
Okay, it's remaining, the one up in the center in the back.
Yes.
I didn't see it in one of the plans, so I thought maybe it was coming off. Okay, thank you.
I have a question about the railing. The railings are all different, as I believe that the railings all have kind of some differences between them. is this railing going to match any of them?
What happened is the original build railing has a different code. The newer code requires the sphere between the vertical slots has to be less than 4 inch. If we duplicate exactly the way it was before, it will not match our current building code. So I somehow modify it, but if you compare the existing and proposed, you will find that very similar detail intent it's being duplicated on the newer railing.
So it went from 4-inch separation between them to how much?
I believe the existing is probably 6 to 8 inches, especially the big circle in the middle. So
Yeah.
definitely it's not gonna pass the code.
Right, right. Okay. Okay, thank you. All right, if there are any other questions for the applicant and applicant's representatives?
Chair, I do have a question.
Yes.
You can certainly weigh in that, because I'm just wondering, maybe this is a little bit too late to ask. I'm just wondering a little bit about the history of this property, because there was this in staff report, the historic preservation was being discussed a little bit of the background. And it pointed out that at some point, I don't know if this current owner or the previous owner had done some changes to the property, so it's no longer deemed as a historic resource anymore. So I'm just wondering that can the current owner give us a little bit history of the property? Would that be
Sure.
appropriate?
Yeah, I can speak about that a little bit. So as Alex mentioned, my name is Josh Kane. I live in Monrovia, and I'm a historic preservationist that was brought in to help with this project. And the reason mainly is because Dr. Moy and Mrs. Moy are very interested in restoring this house and fixing some of the things that have been unfortunately done to it. They're very passionate about the history of the house and all of the aspects that are still intact. And if you go on the inside of this home, you'll see that a lot of it is very original, fortunately. Not the previous owner, but subsequent previous owners going farther back have made a lot of changes, mostly to the exterior. Some of those I mentioned earlier with a lot of the window changes. And then the large kind of service addition, that third wing, that if you look on the A5 page, the bottom left southeast isometric, you really get a good kind of glimpse of how that sits. And if you refer to the photo page, the first photo page, the photos on the bottom left really give you a good example of, I'm trying to think of a nice way to put it, but the not great architecture that was implemented for this edition. So the plan is not really about, adding square footage or making this house bigger or making a lot of changes. It's really to try to go in and take these two things that were really poorly done and make them work with the original home better. Like you can see this series of bad arches on the first floor that has this really poor kind of wrought iron railing underneath, and then kind of other weird inset windows. All of that needs to be corrected. There's so many different fenestration sizes and patterns on this edition. That all needs to be cleaned up, because on the main house, as you can see when you look at the photos from the front, most of the windows are the same size. Old homes, rarely have more than 2 or 3 different sizes of windows. When you look at the back of this, you see all these different windows, which really looks ridiculous. And then the solarium thing that was put on, I believe in the 80s, is really just a tragedy, not only because it's ugly, but because it also sticks forward. It comes forward from the front of the house an additional, I believe, about 4 feet. So that needs to be recessed, because this needs to be a secondary thought, a secondary structure to the main house. It needs to kind of fade into the background and not be so dominant. So I'm super glad that you asked that question, and I'm super glad that I've been brought in on this project, because it is a really good historic estate in San Marino. It has kind of been pushed off the rails a little bit, and we're trying to get it, back in the right direction.
Thank you. Two quick follow-up questions. So in your estimation, if you could even just guess, how long ago were those previous work done? Because I didn't really have a chance to ask staff to see, to maybe pull out some work permit, whatnot. That's the first question. The second question is that, so part of your remodeling, adding addition is actually going to, in a way, restore some of the architectural details?
Right. Yeah, I'll answer your second question first. So that is the goal, is to restore the house and fix things inside the main house that were done improperly, and then also to try to make this kind of bad addition work better with the original main structure. And the answer to question number one, Eva might know exact dates. I'm not sure if she's looked at old building permits for this or not, but the solarium was done in the 80s. The service wing addition was mid 50s, late 50s, possibly early 60s. The house hasn't had much work done to it in a long time. I believe the kitchen on the interior was possibly done in the 90s. But other than that, the majority of the interior is original to about 1913, and fortunately really hasn't been messed up.
Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other questions for the applicant's representative, Committee Member Lakon?
On the back of the addition, on that service wing, the top windows you're proposing to have more the traditional window that I would think the house would have on the top level. Are you thinking about changing the rest of the windows in the house on the top floor, or is this something that you just want to put on the addition?
Only the addition.
I mean, I appreciate not going with that replaced window style, but is there
a reason why?
Yeah, I guess because you don't want to change all the windows, or because you want to differentiate it?
No, let me explain, elaborate a bit. Because currently in the kitchen area, there's a 2 window, which looks like the original window there, and those 2 windows going to be remain. So based on that fact, existing window on the top, which there's no grid, and it looks like, sorry my word, look like a apartment feel, very large and no character.
Mm-hmm.
So looking at the rear elevation, you have a mixture, grid window and no grid window. So part of the reason I wanted to do in this addition to make the rear elevation more cohesive to the entire architecture, especially the back when you look at it. So that's the reason why.
Hello. Hello.
Okay, thank you. Can we, are there any other applicants? Are there any other questions from committee members for the applicant or applicant's representative?
Chair, if I may have just one more.
Yes, please.
I was lucky. I ring the bell, the gate opened, so I went inside. I checked it out. I just want to make sure that all this discussion about the window, you know, the existing windows is recessed back about 4 to 5 inches from the face of the exterior wall, and all these problem windows we're talking about, they were just popped in right flush. So I just want to make sure the architectural plan and will match all of on the window, on the new window to proposing, so that the detail of the windows are consistent with the existing.
Yes, that's exactly the plan. That's exactly the idea, is to make these look like and be installed the same way as the original windows.
Okay, I just want to make sure that that is being recorded so that we understand that.
Yeah, I mean, we could make that a condition, Committee Member Chang, perhaps just to make sure that it's absolutely clear. If the applicants or applicant's representative would be amenable to that.
Yeah, 100%. It's going to be done that way. So if you want to condition approval that it is done that way, perfectly fine.
Okay, thank you.
I think.
Anything? Yeah, go ahead.
In our plan, it does show a thicker wall than 6 inches. So that was already the intent of it is to match the existing. Thank you.
Okay. Any Committee Member Chang, do you have any other questions?
No, I was fine. I had a very good walk of the property and I have a very good understanding. It is truly a jewel to the city, and I'm glad that Dr. Moy and Mrs. Moy wanted to redo it and bring back some of the glory in 2 days. So I think is a good move.
Thank you. Okay, if I believe that is the end of our questions for the applicant and applicant's representative. So I will now move on to public comments. Are there any members of the public here to speak for, against, or about this project? And I don't see anyone raising their hand. So we will now close the public comment portion, and we will move on to committee member discussion. Committee Member McKay.
Thank you. I just find it so refreshing that historic preservation is front and center of this project. I'm not sure what's going on with the screen right now. And is really at the crux of this project. And it's such an impressive estate, and the care that's being taken to restore actually back to the original design and architecture is just you know, very much appreciated and impressive. So I could support this project tonight, and as somebody said, it's really a jewel in the city. So bringing back some of its original stately character is well-deserved and merited. Thank you.
Thank you. Committee Member Chang?
Yes, thank you. Yeah, as I said earlier, I was able to spend a fair amount of time walking the details, walking the solarium and all of that. And I think the team had done a good job catching all the details and try to bring back some of the glory of the original piece of architecture details. And so I do like to restate it about the window details, that it has the setback at the same depth of the existing window detail. And that would be one of the additional conditions that I want to add. Other than that, I definitely support the project.
Thank you. Vice Chair Wong?
I want to thank Dr. and Mrs. Moy in putting so much effort into this wonderful and magical property. When I walk through the project today, it's obvious that it has not been well kept, let alone improved for a long time. So what they have proposed make a lot of sense. I'll say it rationalized the design intent of the property in the various areas proposed. And the changes made is either have a flush facade with the existing facade or do away with the stuck out solarium, which actually doesn't make sense. So all the changes make a lot of sense and would improve on the property. And I also want to congratulate them in putting together a wonderful team, because I can tell that the team put the heart and the profession behind the project and answer our concerns. So with Mr. Raymond Chang's raised condition of ensuring the windows added would be consistent to whatever is the existing condition in that particular facade, the rest of the project for me is simple and straightforward, and I can support it tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Committee Member Lakon?
Yes, thank you. I agree with my fellow commissioners this evening. It's a really beautiful property, and it's nice to see the effort and the commitment to making the improvements. It's really beautiful. And I had questions about the solarium, sunroom, what have you, with the details that Raymond has proposed with the recessed doors similar to the original front of the home. I could support the project as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Committee Member Tony Chow?
Yeah, I just want to reiterate a lot of the comments have been made. I think the applicant and actually the entire team, I think the word to describe this is very thoughtful. In the submission of the application, the details provided, and I agree. I think most, this application is what we like to see in front of us. I think it really is to the best benefit of the property itself, with all these changes. Yeah, I agree with staff and my commissioners that I think this will greatly improve the overall aesthetics of the building and bring it back to where, I guess, the glory of what this building can be. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Committee Member Rick Chow?
Yes, I definitely can support this project, and I agree with all the comments that have been made by my fellow committee members. I think the team, again, I think that, we don't want to take anything for granted, especially we've seen many projects that sometimes what's being proposed is not really, from many perspectives, not the best for the properties, and especially when it comes to something of more of a historical significance. So I really appreciate the information shared by Mr. King today about the historic background, and this project actually will bring forth some of the previous features. Again, echoing committee member McKay said that it's nice to have this to put some emphasis in bringing back the historic value of some of our beautiful properties here. So again, thank you for the team, the representatives, and certainly the owners hired the correct team. I think that's the ultimate goal for everyone.
Thank you. I would like to say that just really right away that I can support this project this evening. with the one condition that was already mentioned, which was brought up by committee member Chang. I will not repeat any of my the other committee members' comments because I share all of them. I do want to say something about this property though, which is that this is, I believe that this may be one of the first properties that has come before us that is referencing being on the historical assessment. And kind of addressing what committee member Chow had asked earlier, I think it's worth, I would like to kind of just talk about that for a moment, which is that I think this is a good example of, you know, when something comes before us that is unaddressed, that is in the historical assessment. You know, I know that there was some question of like, okay, it's on the historical assessment, but it may or may not be considered a national or local historical resource because of some of the degradation of some of the character defining features that have been changed over the years. But when we see something like this on the in front of us, I think it does, you know, help us to look at this through the lens of a building that has some kind of architectural value, whether or not it's, you know, currently meets the historical standards for a local or national listing. So I do want to say that this is a really good example of something that the information that has been brought to us by the historical assessment was very valuable. And on top of it being very valuable for us as a committee, it seems to have been very valuable for the homeowner. And I'm glad to see that the homeowner, you know, took that information, or perhaps they already, you know, knew of the glory of their beautiful property and decided to move more in the direction of, let's call it restoration. And so I think what has been done has been fairly thoughtfully done. I think, you know, we need to applaud efforts when we see a homeowner moving in the direction towards, you know, resolving some of these conflicts that have been design conflicts that have been brought onto the property over the years, and, you know, moving more towards respecting the original design intent. So I want to applaud everybody in this project. I think you resolved some issues, you made it a little bit better, you made it a little bit more like compatible with itself, and that's lovely. And I think that I have a feeling that you are going to, you know, walk away with an approval on your first visit to us as a result. So thank you for all of that. And thank you for, you know, using the information about your house to bring it back to itself. So thank you very much. And now I would like to ask for a motion.
I move to approve design review case number DRC 20/79 with one additional condition that the window details should follow the existing window detail on depth from the recess.
I will second that. Could we have a roll call, please? Marlon, we can't hear you.
I got it.
There we go.
Committee Member McKay,
Yes.
Committee Member Lakon,
Yes.
Committee Member Chang,
Yes.
Vice Chair Wong,
Yes.
and Chair Batnich.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. And we now move on to design review case number DRC 20-01. This is the fifth item of on our agenda this evening and our last item. It's 2050 East California Boulevard. Could we please have the staff report?
Sure. Design review case number DRC 20-01 is a request to make exterior modifications on an existing home located at 2050 East California Boulevard. The exterior modification being proposed is a replacement of a total of 19 windows with Fibrex material manufactured by Renewal by Anderson, which are found on the city's pre-approved window material list. The new windows will match existing windows in size, shape, location, and color. The windows listed in the staff report will change in operation. However, all proposed replacement windows will eliminate the muntins, or otherwise known as grids, seen on the existing windows throughout the home. Staff finds that this change is not compatible with the neighborhood or the home and recommends denial. That concludes the presentation.
Thank you. Are there any questions from committee members for Mr. Cervantes?
I have
Yes.
one.
Yeah.
Mr. Cervantes, has there been any discussion with the applicant as to doing away with the grids and muntins of these windows is actually not consistent with the design guideline?
Yeah, this project was submitted nearly a year ago. I don't remember the content of those discussions, but under different circumstances, this request, if the grids or muntins were being proposed, this would be a change that would be approvable by staff, because that is something that's contrary to the design guidelines and to the window replacement standards in the city of San Marino. The applicant chose to submit the application to go before the design review committee to make the decision on this request. I hope that answers your question.
Okay.
Thank you. Other questions?
Marlon, oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Member Lakon?
Okay. Is this part of any more remodeling going on with the home?
Unfortunately, I don't have
Marlon?
the history in front of me right now, so I don't know if there are any active permits right now for any additional remodel. I can certainly look that up in the next few minutes for you.
Well, I meant more, is this just because they want to put new windows in, or is it part of the overall kind of restoration of the house? We've probably all seen the house. The house is in need of work. So I was just wondering if this is part of a project or just a matter of they need new windows.
I believe this is, the application itself is just for the windows. There's no additional remodel as part of this specific request.
Yeah, if the applicant is here, maybe we can ask the applicant later. So any other questions for, I believe that committee member Tony Chow or Tony Chow had a question.
Yeah, Mr. Cervantes, I was wondering, can you shed any more light or is there any more color you can share on the reason beyond the grids? Is there any additional factors that, was integral to you guys recommending the rejection or recommendation?
That was the only one. That's something that is explicitly stated both in the San Marino residential design guidelines and the window replacement procedures. So because it is going against those two requirements, staff felt it appropriate to recommend denial.
Okay, great. Thank you.
A quick follow-up question, if I may. Mr. Cervantes, so if I understood you correctly, so if the applicant comes back with a different window proposal that the staff deems appropriate, then this wouldn't even come back. If they're just only replacing the windows, this wouldn't even come back to DRC review again, is it? Did I understand that correctly?
That's correct. However, I believe that one of the other reasons for coming before the design review committee was there's a diamond patterned window in the front that was one of the main concerns that they wanted to replace. So that replacement alone would require design review committee approval because it is a change that's visible from the street.
Oh, interesting. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions for?
One more question for staff. If they were to replace the light kind with the Torrance window, the steel Torrance.
That for me.
If they were to replace with the light kind of window that's existing, like those are steel Torrance windows, if they were to do that, then they could have done it. I know the condition of the windows are not good. They need to do it. But once they go into a Anderson window, which is, I believe this line is really for replacement windows. It's different from a brand new home, that kind. Maybe the applicant can shed some light with us. But once they go into a different kind of window, and by not following the design guideline, even though it's a pre-approved window, that's how they got to this point. Would that be fair to say that replacing an existing window, the Torrance steel window, they would have gotten it without any problem, right? With the light kind.
I'm sorry, I don't fully understand your question.
If the applicant were to come and ask them, I need to take out the old window, but replace it with the exact manufacturer, the same window that was there. I believe those are Torrance windows. That's the name of the window. So if they do that, then it would have been okay. Am I correct on that?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay. That's fine. Thank you.
Other questions for staff? Okay, seeing none, we will ask if the applicant or applicant's representative is here, and if so, would they like to give a brief overview?
Yes, the applicant's representative is here. It's Josh Barker. I was with you guys last month for another job. Good to see you again. So my client is stuck in Taiwan due to COVID, and she has given me permission to handle everything on her behalf. I've actually walked the neighborhood, got the signatures for her as well. This job has been going on for quite a long time. It was actually contracted in October of 2019. We brought to the city. She does not like the diamond pattern grills in her windows. There's only one. So the problem with her home is it's a hodgepodge. You have single light windows to the right if you're looking at the house from the street. You have the diamond pattern grill in the center, and you have a window in the kitchen that has a half colonial, you call them muntins or mullions on it. So there are three different types of style of that window, and she wanted it all consistent. She likes the living room in the single light. Across the street from that house at 597 San Marino Avenue is a house that has single light windows as well. Walking up and down the street, what I was informed of by the city was that it had to match the neighborhood, not all of San Marino, because there are different pockets in San Marino. It had to match the neighborhood she was in with one block east and west. So one block east and west, there are no diamond pattern grills in any of the homes. There are some with grills or muntins, and there are some without. So the consistency on that street, she felt warrants the fact that she could do single light and get rid of the muntins on her windows, which is what she would like to do. And again, looking at her house directly across the street from her at the corner of California and San Marino is a house that has no muntins whatsoever. She does want to update the home. It is in need of quite a bit of work. The windows are the start of it. And as far as I believe it was Mr. Chang saying the renewal line of window is for replacement purposes, that is not true. You can do new construction and replacement. The main amount of business is replacement because people don't want to bust their stucco and tear them out. But all the difference between the replacement and new construction is coming with a nailing flange. And if someone wants to change the size of a window or something. So just for future, for the board there, the renewal line of window is both for replacement and new construction. It's just a matter of ordering it with a nailing flange or not. But back to the issue of the muntins, I spoke to Mr. Cervantes about a year ago, and I was informed that it has to match the street. And that street has muntins and no muntins. I took photos and then also walked the street and got permission as required by the city to come to this process. So my client and I disagree with what Mr. Cervantes says. It says it doesn't match the neighborhood. It's hard to justify that. Like I said, for the third time now, that across the street, there are no muttons in the entire home. And you go up and down the street, east and west, and you can find 2 or 3 homes that have no muttons in them. So as far as consistency, that's what my client is going for. And the open look for the ranch style home that is. And she has her main window, the largest window in the home is the living room window, and it has no muntins in it. So as far as consistency of that house, there is no consistency, being that there are no grills, diamond pattern grills, and a half colonial in the kitchen. So we are requesting that we have all consistency and replace the entire home with single light windows.
Okay, thank you. Are there questions for the applicant's representative? Yes, Committee Member McKay.
Thank you. Is the owner changing the door? Is the owner going to be replacing the front door?
She had not mentioned that with me. I think she wants to upgrade the whole house. Again,
I ask because it seems to be, there seems to be a design element in the door that coordinates.
I do believe,
with these diamond paned windows.
Yes, I do believe she wants to get rid of that door. She is not a fan of the diamond pattern grill at all. She thinks it looks very dated.
Did you understand that staff's comment was, if you look at it, it's not just about compatibility with the legal neighborhood, which is, yes, a big portion of our design review guidelines, but compatibility with the existing building.
There are no grills in the front of in the largest window in that home.
What is the reason for eliminating any kind of, I don't know what the word is, but any kind of design features, character features just erasing any kind of design features to the windows on the front street? This is, we as part of the design review committee, we are particularly concerned with what can be seen from the street, what's visible from the street.
She likes the cleaner view. It's plain and simple. She likes the cleaner view without the muntins on the windows. She likes her living room window and how that clean view, it appeals to her. And so, like I said, she likes the house across the street that has no muntins in it as well. She likes that view. She likes a simpler view. And yeah, it is frustrating to her that she has 3 different styles of windows in that home right now.
Is it your position, sorry, one more question, that's my last question. Is it your position that the recommended, or the proposed new windows are matching that, whatever that is, the living room?
The living room.
Do you believe that the proposed windows are matching that?
Yeah, the single light. We are replacing that window as well, but keeping it a single light. And back to Mr. Mr. Chang. There's a good reason they're replacing the windows. They're steel, single pane, drafty. I don't know if we really need to discuss why she would want to replace those terrible windows, but
I don't think the question is about the conditions. That's understood. That's understood, but it's why
if she would replace it,
eliminating any design features here.
Yeah. Again, she likes the look, and as far as having homes on that street that are single light, it's compatible with the neighborhood. There's not a single house on that street within 1 block east or west that has a diamond grill in it.
Thank you.
Thank
Are there
you.
any other questions for the applicant?
I have one more question for the Anderson representative. I'm looking at your existing west elevation between what's existing and what you're proposing. I know she has the desire to take out all mountains, and I want everything clear. Once you do that, unfortunately, it doesn't quite work with the style of the home. If you look at the current home, those grids were there for a reason, is to maintain that ranch style. And if you look at the new west elevation, that proportion of the window, when you take it out with just one big plane, this type of window will look perfect in a contemporary type of home, and it works well with that. Windows are made for a reason, with certain style, but it just, looking at your new elevation, west elevation, I just don't see how that big pane window work with the chimney next to it. It the style of the home didn't call for it.
Yeah, you can't even see that from the street, can you?
I understand, but we want our homes should have 4 elevations, and they should all be quote unquote consistent.
Oh, I understand that. Yeah.
I mean, you sell Anderson. Anderson has a good reputation. I think
Rated the best window out there. But
you should be able to get Anderson window, looking at the existing window design, and come up with something and recommend that to her.
Mr. Chang, it is not an issue of whether I can put muntins in those windows. I can do a diamond pattern grill and a full divided light. It's all custom made. The issue is not that we can't make that window. I can absolutely make that window, and I can give it any design that she would like. That's not the issue. The issue is the consistency, and there is no consistency now. And she was asking for single light windows. It's not that we can't do the job, and that's why we're doing this. Absolutely, I can duplicate that half colonial. I can do any grill pattern that you would like. These are custom made windows. So there's no issue there at all about not being able to do the job. There are a couple things I'm confused about. One is the consistency of it. That's a ranch style home, and the living room window, which is the largest window, has had no muntins on it forever, probably original. And and then the other one would be, as Mr. Cervantes said, that we would have to, let's say you required us to do the half colonial on the entire home, that we would have to go back in front of the design review board again to eliminate the diamond pattern window. Listen, I know the process. I know COVID has slowed everything down, but this has been on the docket for 9 months, trying to get this situation resolved. So we'd have to repeat this process.
But my understanding is that the staff informed the applicant that this was not an appropriate replacement. This is what I understood earlier.
No, what was told was that if we wanted to get rid of the diamond pattern grill, that we would need to go in front of the design review board, and that we were told to take photos of the neighborhood, and it had to be consistent with the neighborhood. I'm the one that was dealing with this. I'm the one that dealt with Mr. Cervantes. I know exactly what was asked of us, and we produced that. So I'm like I said, I'm the one that walked and asked all the neighbors for permission to go in front of the board. We've done everything that was asked by the design review board, and
Okay, thank you. Committee Member Lakon, you have a question?
I have a question for Mr. Barker. Are you just a manufacturer's rep for Anderson, or are you a designer that the applicant has hired for the remodel?
I work for Renewal by Anderson, yes.
So are you part of any other additional remodeling of the home, or is just the windows?
Renewal by Anderson is windows and patio doors only.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any other questions for the applicant's representative? Okay, seeing none, we will now open this up for public comment. Are there any members of the public here to speak for, against, or about the project? And I don't believe we have any, so I will close the public comment, close the public hearing, and I will now move on to committee member discussion. Vice Chair Wong.
Thank you. First of all, I want to thank Mr. Barker for making clear the communication that he had with the owner. And I think, at least for me, I understand really clearly what the owner's intent is. So that is important. I want to share some of the critical issues that we are trying to help the community here. Number one is that some properties are with hodgepodge situation, design-wise, over the years and whatnot. So it is, and we are not doing cookie cutter houses. So there will be impossible to have a complete uniformity in any immediate neighborhood. So the way that the design guidelines ask us to do it is really what's the characteristics of San Marino. And it may be better for the property owner to rework with a designer to help them understand the processes and the guidelines, because it goes beyond what is buildable and what's not buildable on Windows. I know you guys can do a lot and you guys have a really good brand name. But the fact that if the owner is not doing a like for like change, meaning steel with steel, then the code is that the thing needs to be reviewed as a whole. And I have to say this, there were cases that single light window got approved. That was predated our current team, and that probably was not right. And I'm sad to say that that might have led some people to believe that that is also okay. But a very minimalistic window design facade look would be great for Santa Monica, for Newport Beach, even Calabasas, but not San Marino. And we have seen cases like that. I think it is our duty to communicate clearly that window design features are very important. So are doors, so are particular LED glass and the like. So I would like this to be heard by the owner, but the owner is not here, the applicant is not here, so it's on record. So given what is a very inconsistent window design in the property, if it's going to be a change out to a different material, I would like to see the entire design to be very consistent and also consistent by itself as windows and doors and consistent with the property. And I walk up and down California, across the street is not San Marino, across the street is Berkeley. And on Berkeley, 99% windows are with Mullins. So we just cannot pick one that is one single piece of glass and say, hey, there's a chance, so we can have a chance. So I want this to be known by the owner. So for me tonight, I think the owner is not consistent with what we understand as a guidelines here, and I just cannot support the proposal as presented to me. Thank you.
Thank you. Committee member Rick Chow.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, I think Vice Chair Juan had certainly pointed out some very valid and crucial points. And I think the owner's representative, Mr. Barker, you certainly have done your work, spend your time, and I, you know, I share some of your frustration there and maybe some confusion. You know, you brought up you had the comment about, well, look, the neighborhood, this is matching the neighborhood, but I think before we look at that as one of the requirements, the more important requirements arguably should be what is more compatible with the property itself. You're dealing with you and the owner. The owner had stated very clearly the preference. They want something very clean, allows more light, but that doesn't mean that, you know, it's necessarily that's the best from the point of the committee. So I think you have these mixed windows, like you said, hodgepodge, and but that doesn't mean that we can't update all the windows and still bring in, hold on to some of the characters. So that, I think that's probably going to be the main take for this project. And with that, I also echo Vice Chair's the conclusion. I don't think this project at its current state, I can support it. Thank you.
Thank you. Committee member Tony Chow.
I don't have too much more to add. I think the main thing is it was helpful to hear what the owner and applicant was trying, or their perspectives on this. The hope is with staff here and with the comments made that maybe they can digest a little bit of this and try to figure out where we can meet somewhere in the middle. Yeah, I don't much like a difficult case to proceed with. So my only comment is, yeah, my hopes is that, you know, with staff's help now moving forward, the owner actually can better understand our comments and see what they're comfortable with moving forward with.
Thank you. Committee member Lakon.
Thank you. I agree with Steph's comments, and I would not be able to support the project tonight either. I find that the pattern that the applicant is asking for is just not compatible with the house. If there was an overall design change for the entire exterior that the applicant is looking for, I think it's part of a larger project that isn't before us. But as it's presented today, it's a very traditional, modest, colonial style home from the 50s, and I don't see how those windows are going to enhance the home. I agree that there's a few windows that might seem hodgepodgey, maybe. I'm not even sure about that open one on the right. But overall, there is a consistent pattern, and as was brought up in the questions, I believe Ms. McKay asked about the pattern of the front door. That pattern with the crossing of the X pattern in that one main window is a character defining feature, and it is echoed in the front door. And I think that although the applicant doesn't care for that design, that is one of the key design elements of the home. So I hope that the applicant can maybe work with Mr. Cervantes on over-the-counter project if that's something that they can find. But as of now, I can't support this. Thank you.
Thank you. Committee member Cheng.
Yeah, I guess I agree with what I heard so far from my committee members. I guess the owner somehow miss that part and expect the manufacturer's sales representative to pull through the design for her. I think she missed that part about the character of the home, the front door, the existing window design, and just because you want no grid, one big piece of glass, it doesn't work with the existing home. It works vice versa. If somebody come in with a contemporary home, which the existing window is all plain glass, no design, no buttons, and now they want to put diamond grid on that contemporary home, they will get rejected also because it doesn't work. It's not certain type of window can be approved, certain type of window cannot be approved. It all work with the existing door design, the eave line, the material, and the proportion. I guess the owner need to understand that with either with a designer or with Anderson's help. If you can share with her that based on what you heard tonight from the committee and tell her that, well, these are a few options that you may be able to get the approval. I think you'll be doing her a favor, but for her to keep pushing these things through the way it is, I don't think it's going to go through the way I look at it. So I agree with staff report right now.
Thank you. Committee Member McKay?
Thank you. I also, like my fellow committee members, would have to vote in favor of a denial tonight. And I appreciate Mr. Barker's time tonight and his patience in explaining basically what the owner's marching orders were to him. And we understand that you're carrying those out and that you were given a project and that you're attempting as best you can to fulfill it. But your client needs to understand her responsibility as a San Marino property owner. And she needs to understand, she needs to read and review and understand the design guidelines and be cognizant of the design features of her own home, which is a ranch style home. So I'm not going to reiterate what everybody's been saying, which I very much agree with all of my fellow committee members, and I would vote to deny tonight. Thank you.
Ask a question.
I'm sorry, we're in the committee member discussion now, so the time to be asking questions is over. So I'm the one who's left, and I just want to say, just to put it out there, that steel windows can absolutely be restored. They can be replaced. I have worked on such projects. It's absolutely possible, but understandable if the homeowner does not want to do that. I just want to point out that it's not absurd on an old home to, restore steel windows, and they can be, locked up tight with good seals. But anyway, of course, the homeowner certainly can replace their windows. I understand also the homeowner's desire to resolve some of that, what might be called hodgepodge, and that might benefit the home in the end. But, some of those things are design elements and they have to be taken into consideration. I don't think that single light windows are going to work here. They're just not. The idea behind our design review committee and our residential design guidelines, Mr. Barker, I really would advise you to advise your client to look at the residential design guidelines and look at the parts that address windows. So the windows should, the style of the windows should match the style of the home. So I would advise you and your client to go back to, go to not a neo ranch interpretation, but a classical ranch home, and look at what kind of windows are there and look at what windows are already there. And if your client wants to go for more consistency, that is probably, relatively achievable. But, do consider that there is some character expressed in the windows that are already there. And please encourage your client to, and you, because this is the second time you're here and I hear the frustration in your voice. please look at the residential design guideline. And I know you've done a lot of work and you've done your due diligence and you've carried out your client's desires. And kudos to you. I just want to gently guide you and your client in the direction of looking at the windows, not just as windows, but as part of the overall architecture of the home, and try to, see what, what you can do to replace those windows, and satisfy that your client is satisfied, that she is satisfied with the look and the technical capabilities of those windows, and that they also match the style of a ranch house, not as a new interpretation of a ranch house but of a classical ranch style home. So with that, I will ask for a motion.
We'll go give it a try. I move to deny design case number DRC 20-01.
I'll second that.
Okay, can we have the roll call, please?
Cool. Committee Member McKay,
Yes.
Committee Member Lakon,
Yes.
Committee Member Chang,
Yes.
Vice Chair Wong,
Yes.
and Chair Batnich.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone here for the open forum? I see a couple people here, I don't know, who have not spoken or presented anything yet, but do we anticipate anybody here being for the open forum?
We did not receive
Okay.
any. so-
Okay, thank you. Well, then on that note, I will now adjourn the February 3rd, 2021 Design Review Committee meeting until Wednesday, February 17th at 7 p.m.
Thank you.
So,
Good night.
Thanks, everybody. Thank you very much for all of your work, and see you in a couple weeks.
Thank you.
Good night, everyone.
Bye.
Good
Bye-bye.
night.
Have a good night.